Now from King of Bucks Television, it's Tales of the King. Amazing stories from hunters just like you.
We had just started scoring deer, and I had scored a few that had made Boone and Crockett, and then I saw this, I said, ooh, I might be in trouble here.
Louisiana is not a state known for its monster bucks. Though there may be gators in the bayous and all that great Cajun cooking, the whitetails in the state, while numerous and providing good sport, are still small in stature. The term monster buck really doesn't apply. Of course, that all depends on how you define the word monster.
I remember Mr. Walker called me and said he had this big deer that he'd killed years ago. It was 1959. So I went out there, and when I saw it, I said, okay, what am I going to do with this? What makes it so unique is antler mass at the base on both sides, and then of course all these abnormal points coming off, and all these kicker points that are coming off, pointing down to his head, and then you got one coming. If that one had pointed to his eye, he probably would have had some eye damage from it rubbing on it, but it's really a unique deer.
Yes, this buck truly is a monster. With architecture in the antlers so fantastic, so ridiculously complicated, that it was eventually deemed unscorable by the Boone and Crockett Club. Not that people didn't try. David Moreland is a former deer study leader with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
When you try to do a circumference between points, obviously you have an issue of exactly what is the circumference. So it poses a whole lot of difficulty in trying to measure a deer like this, but I tell you, this deer has a lot of character. These points right here you have one antler material, one point, and then it breaks up into three different points. Here's a point coming off that curves around, then you have this one right here that fortunately curved away from the eye rather than growing into it. This is one of those deer where they say, well, the best measurement of a buck is just simply put it in a bucket of water and see how much water it displaces. This would be one of those bucks that would rate really high under that type of scoring system.
In 1979, he visited the home of Sammy "Peanut" Walker, where he encountered his beast from the southern wild.
You know, when he killed the deer in '59, probably most of the state was not open for deer hunting. Deer hunting was only in a few places, and basically it was in those places that access was limited, and such as it was in Iberville Parish, which is part of what's called the Atchafalaya Basin.
Sammy Walker is no longer with us, but his legacy lives on in this astonishing creature. The story, as passed down through family and friends, has Walker running his deer dogs through a swamp known as Bayou Blue on a cold winter day in 1958. Though now banned, hunting deer with hounds was a perfectly legal practice in the late 50s, and it had a long and colorful tradition throughout the South. Sammy parked himself on a tree stump as the baying dogs turned toward him. Suddenly, a blur of antlers passed broadside. He downed it with one shot.
We had him laying on the side of the road and almost had a traffic jam out in the woods. Everybody, all the hunters would come looking at the deer. It was a big deer, the biggest deer I'd ever seen.
No one had ever seen anything like it. Just counting points, the deer has 22 on the right side and 26 on the left. It's an absolutely huge mass of antler. Boone and Crockett scorers have provisionally given the rack a score of 291 3/8 inches. But without any discernible main beams, the rack will forever remain unscorable.
I'll take a photo of that, but you probably never ever seen a deer like that again.
It's like an alien. I ain't never seen nothing like that before. It is so different.
I've hunted these woods all of my life, man. Never seen nothing like that, and that's a beautiful deer.
The lack of a Boone and Crockett number doesn't bother Jerry Seymour, Sammy Walker's grandson. He has fond memories of the deer hanging at his grandfather's house. As a family heirloom, the strange creature had a central place in the Walker household.
He had it hanging by the light switch in his bedroom, and I would tell my friends about the deer, and nobody ever believed that he killed something that big, you know. So I tell them, all right, get off the bus with me this evening and I'll show it to you. When they come to the house and we walk in the room and I flip the switch on, and as soon as I flip the switch on, they walk through the door and they get freaked out and run out the house, you know.
I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is the one I took when I went up.
Meeting David Moreland was crazy because he brought a picture in with my grandfather and a deer head that just, I'm 40 years old and I've never seen it. I don't think anybody in the family's ever seen one with him in it, because back in those days, they didn't worry about taking pictures of the horns, they was worried about the meat. They had to eat.
Though the original rack is part of the King of Bucks collection, a replica of the deer now hangs at Bass Pro Shops in Denham Springs, not too far from where the buck was killed.
Wish he was here.
Yeah, wish they was here to see it because it's great.
That would be cool.
But while these weird and wild racks must have been a burden on the animal, their uniqueness and rarity make them irresistible to the curious whitetail enthusiast. And the strangest of them all, the Sammy Walker Buck, is a valued part of the King of Bucks collection.